Hello and welcome to the very first podcast by the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, Bennett University. We have with us today Dr. Sujatha, Principal Entrepreneur Education, Vadvani Foundation. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, since you've been in this field of entrepreneurship education for so long, and nowadays we see a lot of higher education institutes building their own curriculums around this particular theme. Since you're a veteran in the field, I would want to ask you, what are those critical skill sets or maybe something that cannot be foregone when you're designing a curriculum for entrepreneurship, so that the students that are learning from that particular course are ready for an ever-changing world?
Great. See, entrepreneurship is not something to do with theory at all.
Okay.
Entrepreneurship is always driven by real world examples and more of a experiential and practical learning. So I think that entrepreneurship should essentially create enterprising skill sets among students, and therefore a curriculum should concentrate definitely on multimodal pedagogy. Of course, you will have to teach, lecture, but make it more practice oriented and lab oriented. Get them into ground to dirty their hands and then learn, because entrepreneurship is full of skill sets like problem solving, critical thinking, leadership, team building, of course, creativity and innovation. So I think if they have to deep dive into these skill sets, it's very important for a curriculum to totally probably take a 360-degree kind of a perspective where we accommodate teaching, we accommodate learning by doing, we accommodate practice activities for the children.
We also have a whole lobby of educators who are of the opinion that entrepreneurship is something which cannot be taught. So what's your take on that?
So I belong to a foundation where, we not only teach entrepreneurship, but we do validate what we do.
Right.
So based on my experience, I can very clearly put in forth that teachers and probably the board of study members
Right.
should first build an entrepreneurial mindset, because entrepreneurship is about a journey.
Right.
So who teaches it should be first trained
Exactly.
in entrepreneurship. And in the foundation, the full-fledged program that we give, we actually have a fulcrum around venture activity. So if somebody has an idea, let them start building on that idea itself. An idea is probably not the start point.
Right.
Identify a problem worth solving. Pick up a right problem, validate it with potential customers, build solution. Probably quickly catch up on a drawing board to understand what is lean canvas. Figure out whether there is revenue that's coming in. Enjoy building your prototype, and then land yourself in a safe zone. So I think, yes, entrepreneurship, if you are traditional teachers, you will say that, oh, it cannot be taught. But if you move up the ladder, which is the need of the hour, I think entrepreneurship should be a practical, lab-oriented kind of a teaching, or probably a fieldwork and a self-work kind of a system.
Right. So I guess entrepreneurial mindset is something that educators now should be focusing upon. Drawing something from what I heard you say a while back. So startups were for India and seeking a job was for Bharat. Right.
Yeah.
And when I heard that from you, I think it resonated a lot, because startups maybe now are a trending thing, but maybe even 10-20 years back it was a thing that people could only imagine youngsters or people doing in the developed countries.
Yes.
So I'm just curious, what are some of the real world implications that you see, not just in terms of starting or founding a company, or maybe becoming an ecosystem enabler, that sort of support. So do you think academic training in entrepreneurship actually gives that sort of orientation to somebody?
While I was growing, I always felt that, career means going and working for somebody else. But today, you can be a boss for yourself.
Yeah, I think that is
There
something that a lot of our students will
so
resonate.
much of self-employment. I call that,
Yes.
solo entrepreneurship.
Right.
Join a, Fiverr or a Fiverr, and then you just sit there and you program, or probably you build some content.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of solo entrepreneurship already happening, and nothing should stop. Nothing should stop a student to actually look at entrepreneurship as a career. So when I was studying, probably career means going for a job. But today, entrepreneurship is also a career. Becoming an entrepreneur is a career in itself. From a real world perspective, I think, parents, students, or teachers, we were always thinking that there is this brand with which you should start your career.
Yes.
But I think entrepreneurship education today can make your students to even pick up a career with a startup, do an internship with a startup. I think that by itself will give you a lot of opportunity because you get to do new things. In large corporations, you just work on an SOP or a job description.
Right.
But when you actually land in a startup, I think you create your own SOP, and that's really...
You're building things from scratch.
Yes, it's more fun. So I think the new perspective of entrepreneurship is, if not a job, if not a startup that you want to do immediately because you picked up a course in it, I suggest start somewhere and start with a startup by interning. That's
Yeah, I mean,
more
that will be
interesting.
the first. That's actually very interesting.
Yes.
So I think my second last question. You are like you told me, you travel extensively across India. I'm sure abroad as well. What sort of wave or acceptance do you see in terms of students or youth in tier 2, tier 3 cities? In terms of getting associated with a startup, be it like you said, in terms of an internship or starting your career there, or maybe founding something of their own.
If we have to actually
Like
understand...
your observations.
Yeah, I can share that. So there are these tier 1 colleges that are available.
Yes.
Are they available for everybody, or it's for premium set of students? Now one should answer by themselves this. So now this tier 1 have a lot of exposure, access, opportunity to go visit incubators, probably talk to industry people, network. They are visible in LinkedIn. So there's so much happening because it's pull and push. The college is also doing a lot for them because they are in that top tiered and ranked, and they have lots of framework that they have built which has gone into the system. Now, what happens to the students in tier 3 and 2 colleges? They're very close to my heart, to be very honest, because I get to see they belong to a society where they really understand societal problems.
Yes.
They are living with problems. So, as an innovator, I always get to see that the solutions that they bring in as an innovator is more applicable. It is just that they lack a lot of awareness. They don't know how to build a business out of that innovation.
Right.
I don't find any energies different between a tier 1, 2 or a 3.
Okay.
Student with a lot of government initiatives today is aware of what is startup. In fact, a lot of them are fascinated to do a startup.
Yes.
This is something which is really happening around,
Okay.
right? But the tier 3 and 2 is, they're good innovators. They know what solutions will solve the real population's pain point. It's just that they don't have awareness. They don't know where to go, what to do, how to understand a proper framework or an approach to take their innovation into a solution which can find customer, which can find a market, which can find feasibility, viability and sustainability. I think if this is taken to them, I think there's enough inclusion that you will get to see.
So my last question, we as higher education institutes and, the foundation that you belong to, can we play an important role in terms of bridging this gap that maybe students in tier 1 cities, the facilities that they have in terms of AI access, in terms of technology, and the lack of access that students in maybe a tier 3 or a rural background they face? Can we effectively play a role, do you think? And what's your take on whatever steps have already been taken, and if there is any future prospect in the same?
So we run a 14-week structured program I told you,
Right.
right, from the foundation, which is called as Ignite. This program, we ensured that the new learning styles of students should be accommodated.
Right.
So who is this student? In any tier city, I always feel that they have access for learning, they have access for knowing. So a tier 3 student or a 2 student is equally aware of AI. Now, can they pay a subscription to use it?
Yes.
That's the question.
True.
So, does a tier 1 student also pay to use it? I mean, I don't find a lot of difference between the both, because
Or maybe
their
they're more
priorities are.
exposed to other ways of, getting access to the same.
Yeah. I think everybody gets an access. It's just that they don't know how to re-engineer the entire process.
Right.
Somebody uses it for good, somebody uses it for copying, somebody uses it for building some new framework, right? So I think that as a foundation, we realized it, and we have enabled artificial intelligence, the GPTs in the
Yeah.
system itself. So all that the student has to do is ask the right questions and keep understanding. The delta points are so well kept.
Yeah.
So it keeps giving them more opportunities to learn, to that simple fashion that, a student can just say, I want to start with a bakery. And that's not the real thing, because that's not a sustainable idea.
Okay.
Is it the bakery that you want to do, or probably use a scamper? And then understand, can I come with a technology where the wheat that I use will not get spoiled for a long time? Or probably, can I pack it in such a way that it is easily consumable? So you change it.
Yeah.
So we are teaching students with our AI and AI coaches, and that's how we have utilized the technology to make them come out of that apprehension that, oh, this is not probably mine. It's for everybody. Touch it. Probably you will learn by yourself.
More hands-on.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. My final last question. Your, piece of advice to youngsters regarding their risk-taking appetite. What should it be like?
I can't advise, because I myself probably understood risk in a very wrong way in my early years.
Okay.
Well, as a student of management and student of finance, I must tell you that there is nothing called risk. It's about how much you're informed to take a decision.
Okay.
So the more you believe in analytics and you're taking informed decisions, I think automatically the risk comes down. Please don't take any decisions based out of gut.
Right.
Do a lot of research.
So follow your gut is always not the best advice.
Yeah. I think be truly analytical. Keep asking why, and why. Go to the reality, and then build a startup, or probably even think through building a startup. And I think that's the best a student can do. So risk taking, it'll take ages for anybody to become risk aversive, but to handle it, informed decisions is the best way of handling it, is what I feel.
That's wonderful. That's actually wonderful. In an age where students are so passionate about things and they just want to follow their gut, calculated risk-taking is probably something which they should be adhering to. With that, I thank you, ma'am, for joining
Welcome.
us today and sharing such interesting insights about entrepreneurship ecosystem with
Lovely.
us.
Startup is always a journey. That's all. And I think students should be given more and more opportunity to get through it. And I think they have a choice whether to do it or not.
Right. They should ideally have a choice.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.